Also, if you've seen me wear the sweatshirt before, yes, you have. I will be wearing it into the ground. Hi, my name is Dami. I'm a writer, and today we're going to talk about some August updates in my life, and also updates with writing. I'm so sorry. I'm going to put a diffusion filter over my ring light in order to help diffuse the light, and so you're not seeing like that ring light sort of circle on my glasses. But I didn't. I forgot. So you're going to see like that ring light kind of on my glasses throughout the video. I'm not re-recording a whole video, a talking video, just for that. Y'all are gonna have to deal with it. I'm so sorry though. Today I'm going to talk about two things. The first thing is actually going to be a festival that I recently went to, North Coast. So if you don't care about my experiences like going to festivals and that sort of thing, and you're just here for writing stuff, I will include a timestamp here of where to just skip to if you don't care about any of that stuff, and we can get right into the writing stuff. This festival is relevant to my writing experience because the reason I went to this festival is because I was feeling a little bit out of sorts. Let's back up and start over with what is this festival and what is this thing that I'm about to talk about? Well, the festival I went to is North Coast, and it is over in Chicago. It's an EDM, electronic dance music festival, and it seemed pretty heavy on bass and D&B, but they had house. There's another festival going on at the same time, ARC, which I think is more house and techno. But I've never been to North Coast before. This is my first time going to North Coast. I enjoy music festivals. I enjoy going to specifically like EDM shows and festivals. I've been to EDC, Lost Lands, Lights All Night here in Dallas. I enjoy going to music festivals, and I very much enjoy EDM. Part of the reason I went, I had been in a little bit of a rut, and what I've learned about myself is if I'm in a bit of creative ruts or creative like kind of stuck space, music helps. It doesn't have to be going to like a music festival and that whole shebang. It can just be going to a good show, and I think what it is enjoying someone else's art. Also, my own creative juices flow. Essentially, for me, music is a very hard reset on my for my mental health. Like if all else fails, like this is kind of the turn it back on or turn it off and turn it back on again sort of button for me is music. But I got tickets and I went to Chicago and we went to this music festival and it was fantastic. First of all, North Coast is an amazing festival. I can't believe I hadn't heard of, I think I had heard of it. My sister lives in Chicago, so I've heard of it before, but I can't believe it wasn't really on my radar because it's such a great EDM festival with such great like plur vibes. And people who don't know, plur is peace, love, unity, respect, and there is a second R, it's responsibility. For people who aren't super familiar with EDM, like the EDM festival scene or like the rave scene. For our intents and purposes, I will kind of reuse the terms like rave and music festival interchangeably. They're not, but I'm going to use them interchangeably. There's something so magical about really good EDM shows, festivals, and raves that have just really great vibes. Like when the vibe is immaculate, there is nothing like it. I think about going to festivals specifically. So if I'm going to like an actual festival or some shows even, it's a playground. I think they even call EDC, which is Electric Daisy Carnival over in Las Vegas every year. They call it an adult playground. And I don't mean adult in that way. It feels very much like that when you go to a festival because it is like multiple hours, multiple days, right? It's very like childlike in the way people interact with each other. Like kids on a playground. Like you've never met this person, but they seem like they're playing by themselves. So I'll go and hang out with them, and I'll give them some candy and check in and see how they're doing. I'm sitting on the ground because I'm kind of tired, so I'll go over here and sit down, and someone will come over and just like chill with me, and we're just totally vibing with the music, and we're just headbanging at the same time. Like this is so good, and it's just a very communal experience. Of course, there's some people who are just completely blacked out and completely blitzed, and they're mostly a nuisance. But for the most part, when you go to a show where people are there for like the right reasons, which is just the music, you can tell, and the entire show can feel it, and the entire festival feels that way too. Whenever I go to multi-day EDM festivals, you have to almost like not necessarily plan ahead. I think there can actually be a detriment to over planning, but you have to kind of go in like I'm ready for whatever sort of experience that I'm going to have. And I went knowing like I'm here to just kind of have my vibes reshuffled a little bit, and that's exactly what happens. I saw Subtronics. Subtronics is always fantastic. I've seen Subtronics way too many times. There's Chase and Status. That was such a good set. Ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum. That was a really good set. Saw Seven Lions. I'm actually not a big fan of Seven Lions, but that show or their set, it was almost like Seven Lions and Millennium put on a show at North Coast that almost like reminded us like why they're legends. I kind of worry about giving this opinion. Lots of disclaimers here. One, I am newer to the EDM show scene, and so I think also like my critiques, I think take with not just a grain of salt, but like a whole basket of it. I'm not super knowledgeable, honestly, in terms of all of the different like genres and subgenres, that sort of thing. But Illenium and Seven Lions, I do think have more of a mass appeal. Nothing wrong with that. I like Illenium's music. I love what they produce. I think it's fantastic. And sometimes I feel like at especially larger shows, they want to, I'm so worried about saying this. It feels like they're still appealing to as many people as possible. But at this show, it was such a good, just EDM, like they had a little bit of everything, melodic and dubstep and some D&B in there, and it was just done so well. And it was almost like Seven Lions was reminding us, like, I know we have like mass appeal now, I know everybody loves us now, but this is how we made it, like, because we're good DJs. And I was like, okay, yeah, bet. And so it was one of my favorite sets, actually, with the Seven Lions set. I really wanted to see Ella's Dream. That was actually who I wanted to see most, like, before going to, and that's the thing about these shows is you come in making plans, but I think the best plan to make when you go into these like multi-day festivals is I'm here to go with the flow and to make the most of the experience, period. I wanted to see Ella's Dream, but I ended up getting like separated from the group I was with at one point in time. No big deal. I think, again, this is part of mindset stuff. In the end, I was like, you know what? Instead of going find Ella's Dream set, I think I'm happy with where I'm at right now. I'm going to continue to vibe. And that's why I stayed for Seven Lions, even though Seven Lions isn't a set I'd usually stay for. I had an amazing experience there. It's a top festival for me. I think it was one of my favorite festivals because the vibes were just so immaculate, and it's smaller. It's a smaller festival. Lost Lands is number one. Lost Lands is my absolute favorite, and I think this might be a number two. Like North Coast might be a number two for me. But it was absolutely the creative reset that I needed. Now I'm back, and it's revisions time. I'll talk today more about the revisions for The Sun Has a Shadow, which is the revisions I'm doing with my agent, hopefully so that we can go to submission this fall. And I know like this is the fall, but we'll see. Because I know like publishing basically shuts down after Thanksgiving and into the spring, or into like January and so we'll see. Things will happen at its own pace. This is round 3 of revisions for The Sun Has a Shadow. That's my Dragon Phoenix young adult fantasy. I found myself feeling frustrated. And it's not with my agent. My agent is fantastic. She's a great communicator. She's super thorough. I love her style in terms of like notes, suggesting notes. She doesn't overstep, respecting like, you're the writer, this is your book. These are suggestions that I would make. This is what I think we should do. This is why, but feel free to push back. Not frustrated at all with my agent. I think I'm more frustrated because of my own ignorance and naivete, because I'm so new to traditional publishing. I'll tell you what it feels like, even though I know this isn't necessarily the case. But again, this goes back to just my own ignorance, and that's where I think this frustration is coming from. I feel frustrated because I almost feel like I'm writing for a different audience sometimes. Now I feel like I'm writing almost for an editor, and that when I have the editor, I'll be writing for the actual audience. So my last round of revisions, there was a big focus on world building. Frankly, like I know I knocked it out of the park with revisions, and my agent has like no notes when it comes to world building at this point in time. I think it's there. At the same time, I consume a lot of booktube content. Reads with Rachel, Crimson Rogue, Weirdo Book Club, like listening to them talk of like critiquing books that they've already read or that they didn't like or that they did like, helps my own writing. It helps me know like people who are reading critically, like what issues are they having with books. That way I can know to avoid them or just to be more conscious or be more aware, cognizant of the sort of like issues or mistakes in my own book. LDJ Writes made an excellent video about like, why is young adult fantasy not as great as it used to be? Lots of people have made videos like this, and he makes a lot of really good points. I want to avoid my young adult fantasy falling into this sort of category of like these other books that are young adult fantasy that aren't good. The common thread that I hear between casual readers and more critical readers is, I'm not dumb. Answer questions that the reader will have. It's not enough for your book to just thrive off of vibes. I want to be truly immersed. I think I did a good job of that with the world building, and I pushed myself in terms of like as I was writing and editing. Why is it this way specifically versus why is it that way? And explaining that, not directly, not in this info dumpy way, but kind of anticipating these questions and answering them. Now looking at this next round of revisions, something that I've struggled a little bit with is pacing. I think a lot of authors do, especially kind of like that sloggy middle. For me, it's actually a little bit more the beginning of the book. The book follows kind of like a quest plot line, like characters go on a quest to achieve a goal. What I've done with a lot of the world building is giving like glimpses into the status quo for the characters. It's led to a delay of the characters getting started on their journey. And so then there's a question of killing darlings or jigsawing things around, moving pieces around, and how to best do that. And I worry that in killing more darlings, I'll be killing the world building elements. And that's where a lot of this frustration comes from. Like, I feel frustrated because I have truly fleshed out this universe. It almost feels like I'm being told, well, like, hurry up and get along with like the story, with the plot, resources. So I'm using like Save the Cats. Here's Save the Cat writes a YA novel. And what's helpful is that she, with each sort of genre, she uses like an example. So the Golden Fleece genre, which is more like the quest storyline, the example that she uses is like Six of Crows. And I found myself like doing research. When is the catalyst in, what is this book? Sky Hunter. When does the catalyst happen? When are the two characters? When do Red and, what's her name, Talon? When do Red and Talon actually meet in this book? Like, what page number is that? Where are we? And Warcross, like, when does the catalyst actually happen? How many pages in? I've got Six of Crows up there somewhere. I'm doggy-eared there too. Are my plot beats that far off? Honestly, not really. Like, for example, right now, the two main characters meet up on page 40. In Six of Crows, which is a 462 page book, catalyst happens on page 41. Debate happens page 59 through 118. So I'm like doing these sort of like stupid mental gymnastics, trying to see like, well, am I that far off? All this said, and I know I'm already coming off as like very argumentative, but I think she's right. I can speed things up along. I can have the characters meeting earlier. I can have things moving a little bit faster if I were to kind of jigsaw some of the world building aspects into after they meet. Part of the reason why I'm trying to include and flesh out the world building so much beforehand is I think I've been reading a lot of adult fantasy recently. The booktubers that I'm watching, they're also reviewing more adult fantasy. In adult fantasy, I think you get along with longer page counts, longer word counts, much more like immersion with world building aspects, and I can kind of get into the weeds a little bit more. But I think with young adult, it just has to move along a little bit faster. The vibe I get is like, so, okay. Sorry, I'm still all over the place. The vibe that I get is editors will stop reading at any point for any reason. So I need to keep the editor hooked and I need to keep them engaged. And then I had this question of, is this low-key just an attention span problem? Because 40 pages also doesn't sound like a whole lot to me. I think this goes back into even querying, right? Like I remember a lot of the beef that I had with querying was requesting only one page of your manuscript, and they're able to like decide from one page if that's enough. And I'm like, one page? Like, I think readers will give books more than one page. But at the same time, agents are reading hundreds of books and perusing through a huge backlog of books to see what they want to pick up, what's going to get published. I'm looking for an agent, and almost feels like I need to get the attention of an agent, and so I need to hook someone within like a page. I think a lot of readers will give books more than one page. But at the same time, agents don't have that sort of time. To read every single book in its entirety, or to read 50% of a book or 25% of a book before they decide they want to pick it up or not. They just don't have the time for that. It's ridiculous. But then it just feels like you're writing for different audience each time with traditional publishing, and that's what's frustrating. And it's frustrating because I'm not part of a lot of these conversations, so I don't know how things work, and so I know I'm ignorant. Traditional publishing is hard because you don't know how anything works. I have like these like different versions of the draft all over the place, trying to see how I want to jigsaw things, move things around, but still have things flow and still have things revealed at the right time. But I'm struggling a lot with keeping the world building in there. I think I need to keep it as tight as possible. I think I struggle with pacing because I want to be so expansive and immersive sometimes with the world building and the character development. I want to have more of those moments that are like quiet and sit down. But I think the space for that is more adult fantasy, maybe. Another annoyance that I have with word counts in general. And going on submission, we are trying to keep it under 100K as much as possible. Because we don't want editors to basically have a reason to not look at it. Some editors will not look at it if it's over 100K. please name me a young adult fantasy book that is less than 100K. You can. They are out there actually. But like, I just really quick, like, kind of Google search, and these aren't exact numbers. I think these were kind of people's guesstimates. Ember in the Ashes was 111K words. Six of Crows, 130. Gilded Wolves, 104. Scythe, 112. These Violent Delights, which is technically young adult, is 116,000. You know, everyone is on their journey. Keep your eyes on your own paper. I think I even mentioned that in another video of mine. So I need to keep that message for myself. Keep my eyes on my own paper. And by the time I see this editor, and by the time I get a publishing deal, I know this book is gonna be over 100,000 words. I know it is. I know it is. Okay. And so I'm just like, all this effort to tighten this book, even though I know the truth. We all know the truth. And the truth is, this is going to be over 100,000 words when it's done. I know it. I will die if if this book does end up getting published and it is less than 100,000 words. I will die a little bit on the inside and eat these words. I'll eat it with mac and cheese. Now, you know, am I frustrated with the system? Yes. But that's what happens when you choose to work within a system. You know, the other option is self-publish, right? I can I don't have to do any of this. If I really do feel like my book is fine the way it is, I can self-publish. So either I'm still here because A, I don't think it's where it should be. I think I can make it better, which is actually true. And two, I want to traditionally publish. I don't want to self-publish. I don't have the time to put into that. From a business perspective, not interested. I already own a business. I'm not interested in owning it and doing it again. Because I want to traditionally publish, that means I've chosen to work within a system. And if you want to work within a system or live within a system, you have to abide by the system's rules. I think there are changes that needs to be made. I think there are issues with the system. How are some books that look like they have never seen an editor in their lives, like getting published? Choosing to work within a system that requires that I need an agent to advocate for me, that I trust, who can advocate for me in terms of finding an editor and getting the best publishing deal possible. I've chosen to work within a system. I've chosen to partner myself with somebody who has my best interest in heart and my book's best interest in heart. And I really do believe that I have that in my agent. And my agent says this is the best way for us to work within this system, and I trust her to help me put this book where it needs to be, so that as many eyes as possible can see it. Because I do think it's a story that people can, and I don't want to say like benefit from, but like I think it's a story that can meet people at where they're at and impact them in some way. You know, as I write more, hopefully publish more, I will learn more about this place that I've decided to put myself in. I'll learn more about traditional publishing and how things work. I'll learn more about behind the scenes and hopefully, like, eventually be more involved in those sort of conversations. And I won't feel frustrated. In fact, I might feel frustrated for more specific reasons. Like, I'll actually have better words and reasons to feel frustrated because I'll know why I am. But right now it's just this like, I don't understand how things work, like sort of feeling. And that's a valid feeling. It's a valid place to be. And I think it's good to say it, mention it, talk about it, and give it a name, which is frustration. And even now, I've, you know, kind of yammered on about this for a while already. But I feel less frustrated. I feel less frustrated just in talking about it. Because in talking about it, I get to talk through it and realize and remind myself like why I'm doing this. And you chose to work in a system, and the system isn't perfect, but you have someone on your team who's helping you navigate the system. It's okay to feel frustrated and to be confused, and to ask questions, but it's also okay to like reorient a little bit and figure out, okay, so what do I need to do to be true to my story, be true to myself, be true to my art, within this system. It makes me think a little bit about just frankly like being a physician. Being a physician in America, it's trash. Health insurance that doesn't cover jack diddly squat. I've spent so much time doing so much unpaid labor that if I were to log the amount of hours that I do stuff and don't get paid, it would blow people's mind. There's so much that like goes on behind the scenes for physicians that we're doing that we're not getting paid for. You know, patients are upset because they don't understand what's going on behind. They're frustrated. They feel frustrated like I feel frustrated because, you know, they work in the system. They're like, well, I have insurance, I have my agent, so I should be good, but what's the problem? So you're frustrated, but it's not me. I'm doing what I can, but I'm working in this broken system. This ended real weird. This was real weird. This was a real weird ending. I went off script, y'all. In conclusion, North Coast, fantastic festival, great creative reset. And now I'm going to start this writing shindig. We're going to write a book. We're going to move things around. We're going to keep the world building tight. We're going to keep the plot moving. We're going to keep it punchy. And we are going to write the dang thing. If you're a writer pursuing traditional publishing, I'm happy I still went this route. I really am. And I'm so, like, no, I'm not lucky, I'm blessed. Yes, like Nicki Minaj.
No, I'm not lucky, I'm blessed. Yes.
To have an agent, because having an agent, it is this much talent, this much luck, okay? I'm glad I'm going the traditional publishing route because I just like don't have like the means in terms of like time to figure out self-publishing, honestly. I'm glad I have, and I'm not ready to learn about self-publishing. I'm just not, and so I'm happy to have an advocate. Just keep on keeping on. I think it's a game of resilience no matter what. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here for the chaos, for the confusion, for the upsy-dowsy, topsy-turvy, timey-wimey nonsense that was this video. Hopefully you found it mildly interesting or entertaining. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz, and I'll see you in the next one. Also explain what that was. So that is, I think, how I'm gonna like end these videos moving forward. It's corny as heck. But I mentioned before that I enjoy going to EDM festivals and EDM shows and raves and that sort of nonsense. Part of it is plur vibes. Plur is for peace, love, unity, respect, and responsibility. Peace, love, unity, and respect, U and R in sign language. And that will be a little goodbye, okay? Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz, and I'll see you in the next one. That was mad corny.
I wish we could skip right to the end, but we keep dancing.